All right, let's get to the main message. First things first here. For anybody who's never been to Texas, it is not solid desert. We have rivers too. Anyway, alright, let's get to the main message.
Hey everybody, Lon here. I started carrying my camera with me a lot. Carrying it to work, carrying it to church, carrying it in the car, kind of wherever. And it's a good thing I did today because I had an idea of something I wanted to talk about. That was kind of sparked by a missionary that came to speak at our church last night and will be there again tonight. And speaking on God's will for our life, what is God's plan for our life? What does God want us to do? And I think a lot of us as Christians waste a lot of time waiting to try to figure out what God wants us to do before we do anything. And really tied into that is Jesus' commands to us in Matthew chapter 28. Where he tells us to go into all the world and to preach the gospel and make disciples and teach them everything that he commanded us, and that he promised that he would be with us to the end of the age, to the end of the world. And I think what Jesus really wants from us is to follow him right where we're at. I don't know if God will have me do something different 10 years from now, 5 years from now, or even tomorrow. I don't know if God's going to want me to be a missionary overseas, or an inner city missionary, or if he wants me to just make YouTube videos, or what. But it just struck me after last night's message that I don't need to be wasting time right now sitting around like doing nothing. Waiting for some super spectacular revelation from heaven, a wild vision or something like that. God gives us instructions of what we should be doing now that apply to every situation. God wants us to make disciples, to lead people to Jesus Christ right where we're at. You don't have to go overseas. And even if God calls you to go overseas, you don't have to wait till you get there, till you get whatever training you're going to need, whatever funding you're going to need. You can start making disciples right now where you're at. I can do the same thing. Where I work, people I meet on the street, in the store, wherever, on YouTube. I think that's the point of my video, is that God wants us telling people about Jesus Christ now and today, and not waiting to figure out God's major overall big plan for our life before we do anything. I don't think we can really do that. Some people may have a really good idea or impression, maybe a word from God about what he wants them to do in general, like whether it's be a missionary or be a musician or whatever. But I think for the vast majority of us, we go through life day by day, one day at a time, and that's the way God wants us to live it, that he wants us to seek him today for what he wants us to do today. Whether that's talking to the neighbor across the street, talking to the guy that works next to you, or what. And so that's my word to myself and to everyone else here today, is that God wants us spreading the good news and the message of Jesus Christ no matter where we're at, no matter what, whether we know what God wants us to do in the future or not. We already know what God wants us to do today, that he wants us to go into all the world. And part of the world is my world, the world that I live in, and the world that you live in. People that you know that nobody else, for example, on YouTube knows, maybe even nobody else in your family knows, but you know them. And that is at least your world and my world, that we can share the good news of Jesus Christ with. And so I encourage you today, as I encourage myself as well, to take advantage of today and the opportunities we have today to tell people about Christ. God bless you.